Hey friends, come close to the fire tonight because this story it's heavier than most. It's real, documented, and equally terrifying, but not in the way you would expect. We are not dealing with a ghost story or a shadow image from a forgotten village. No, this is a case where the true horror didn't come from something supernatural. It came from human misunderstanding, faith, and a young girl crying out for help but never getting what she truly needed. So take a deep breath because tonight we unravel the haunting tale of Anneliese Michel, a girl whose life was ripped apart by seizures, voices, and spiritual terror. And in the end, the only demons she may have faced were the ones within the human mind. Let's set the scene. Clintonburg am Main, early 1970s. Bavaria, a quaint German town nestled along the riverbanks, flanked by vineyards and old timber homes. Church bells echo through the cobbled streets, a place where Catholicism isn't just religion, it's the air people breathe. Anneliese Michel was born there on September 21st, 1952, into a devout Roman Catholic family. Her mother, Anna, had once considered becoming a nun. Her father, Joseph, was strict but protective. Religion shaped every corner of their household, from daily prayers to traditional moral values. Anneliese was the second of four daughters. By all accounts, she was soft spoken, bright, and musically gifted. She played piano beautifully. Teachers admired her discipline, classmates described her as kind, if a bit shy. But inside her, something darker was building. Even as a child, she wrestled with guilt over tiny mistakes, missed prayers, or imagined sins. Some biographers say she showed signs of scrupulosity, an intense form of religious obsessive compulsive disorder, that is OCD, where even fleeting impure thoughts spark fear of eternal damnation. Still, she smiled. She went to school. She tried until one day in 1968, it all changed. 16 years old, Annalise suddenly blacked out at school, collapsing mid-class. Doctors ran tests, scans, blood work. What they found pointed out to temporal lobe epilepsy, that is also called TLE, which is a neurological disorder where electrical misfiring in the brain causes seizures, visual distortions, personality changes, and what neurologists call religious ideation. That is, visions, voices, a feeling of being watched or punished by higher powers. At the time, German psychiatry was still grappling with how to treat such cases. TLE was poorly understood. Mental health care was stigmatized and therapies were limited, but Annalise was prescribed Dilantin, later Tegretol. These are anti-seizure medications meant to stabilize the brain activity, but she still kept suffering. Convulsions became more frequent, and with them came something worse: visions. She began seeing grimacing faces, burning eyes, and black shadows at night. She heard male voices taunting her. "You're damned," they said. She'd clutch her head, screaming, and her parents could only watch in terror. Now, was this epilepsy? Was it schizophrenia? Or dissociative identity disorder? Or something else? To the Michelles, and to Annalise herself, it felt like possession. Let's talk mental health for a moment, because what Annalise was showing by today's standards could suggest a complex neuropsychiatric condition, perhaps even multiple overlapping ones like TLE, the temporal lobe epilepsy, which can be confirmed by EEG today, psychosis, which includes auditory hallucinations and delusions, schizoaffective disorder, which is a combination of seizures and mood disturbance, religious OCD, anorexia nervosa, that is, self starvation, possibly linked to control or delusions. Symptoms like hers, reacting violently to religious icons or hearing accusatory voices, feeling unclean, are now recognized in certain psychiatric circles as culture bound manifestations of mental illness. In devout communities, hallucinations often adopt religious themes. But in the 1970s, there was very little to no understanding of these intersections. She wasn't just suffering physically, Anneliese was battling internalized shame, spiritual fear, and an isolating belief that her soul was in jeopardy. And so, when medicine failed to relieve her, the family turned to faith. The Catholic Church doesn't allow exorcisms lightly. Anneliese and her parents were turned away multiple times. Priests advised more medical treatment, but the family insisted. This wasn't just illness. She was growling, she was hissing, and she also tore rosaries from her neck. She crawled under furniture, bit her sisters, drank her own urine. She would eat spiders at times, and she claimed to be controlled by six demons, specifically Lucifer, Judas, Cain, Hitler, Nero, and a disgraced priest named Fleischmann. By 1975, her parents approached Father Ernst Alt, who was convinced it wasn't schizophrenia. He claimed she had supernatural knowledge and couldn't look at a crucifix. The bishop granted permission for an exorcism, and Father Arnold Renz joined Alt. Over the next 10 months, 67 exorcism sessions were performed on her, many lasting 4 hours or more, and they were also tape recorded. And those recordings are terrifying. Take a breath, because what comes next is horrifying. On those tapes, Anneliese screams in raspy, demonic voices. She growls and barks. She switches personalities mid sentence, and she curses in old dialect. Experts analyzed the tapes and they were authentic, not faked or dubbed. And yet, some psychologists who studied them said the voices were consistent with DID, which is dissociative identity disorder, a condition in which trauma causes the mind to fracture into separate identities. But in the 1970s, DID was barely understood. The term itself wasn't widely used until the 1980s. One psychiatrist, Dr. Richard Roth of Frankfurt, later reviewed the case and wrote, "Her behaviors are typical of untreated epilepsy, complicated by psychotic symptoms, and made worse by religious reinforcement." Anneliese stopped eating. Convinced the demons forbade it, she lost 40 pounds. Her knees shattered from daily genuflection over 600 times a day. Her body curled into herself, shrinking. She begged the priest to stop. She told her parents, "Mother, I'm afraid." And then she slipped away. On July 1st, 1976, at 23 years old, Anneliese Michel died in her bedroom. Her cause of death? Malnutrition and dehydration. This case exploded in German media. Two priests, two grieving parents, a dead girl, and tape recordings of aberrant demonic possession. A medical examiner found no underlying infection, no organ failure, just extreme neglect. The state prosecuted all four adults for negligent homicide. The defense played the tapes, showed Anneliese's bruises, her broken bones, her open sores, but prosecutors argued she could have been saved. She needed psychiatry, not prayers. In 1978, the court found the priests guilty but gave suspended sentences. Anneliese's parents were not punished because they had suffered enough. The case sparked global debates about religion versus science, and it still does. Many modern psychiatrists believe Anneliese Michel suffered from temporal lobe epilepsy with complex partial seizures, psychotic depression with hallucinations, possibly DID from religious trauma, catatonia, and anorexia in the final stages. Some also point to Stockholm Syndrome, suggesting she internalized the beliefs of the priests around her. And here's something even more tragic. Studies today show that many women with severe mental illness, especially in religious communities, are more likely to be seen as possessed rather than ill. Even now, exorcisms are performed globally in places where psychiatric resources are scarce. The WHO urges countries to destigmatize mental health, especially in faith dominant cultures, because stories like Annaliese's aren't just horror tales, they're cautionary ones. Anneliese Michel was buried in Gunzenberg Cemetery under a simple headstone. Today, people still visit, some pray, others leave flowers, a few say they hear whispers. A story inspired The Exorcism of Emily Rose, a film that split audiences between belief and skepticism. But the real Anneliese wasn't a horror icon. She was a young woman in pain, a woman who fell between the cracks of medicine and religion, a soul crushed under the weight of faith, illness, and silence. So, what really happened? Was she cursed, possessed, or was it a tragic mix of neuroscience, mental illness, and a society not ready to understand it? You tell me, friends. Let us know what you believe in the comments, and if you know someone suffering in silence, please do not let the shadows win. Let's talk about mental health, because sometimes the scariest demons are the ones we refused to see. Until next time, stay warm, stay aware, and keep your lights